Welcome to Plugged In Australia Quick Charge, the shorter version of the show for when you want the main EV news without the full deep dive. This is the Quick Charge version of episode 47 for Monday the 4th of May 2026. Today we're covering Leapmotor's push for export market tuning, Jetour's plug-in hybrid ute and off-roader plans, Mazda shutting down the Deepal Electric ute rumour, GWM replacing the Ora hatch with the Ora 5 SUV, new deals from Jaecoo and Suzuki, Google Gemini in Polestar and Volvo cars, Volkswagen's huge range extender SUV concept, and Hyundai's EV sales surge. Without further ado, let's get into it. Leapmotor says it will not simply export Chinese market cars and hope they work everywhere else. The company says it is using Stellantis' engineering expertise to assess export market models before production, especially around ride and handling. That matters for Australia because our roads quickly expose cars that are too soft, too floaty, or poorly controlled at highway speeds. The upcoming Leapmotor B05 hatch is the one to watch. It is golf-sized, confirmed for Australia by the end of 2026, and expected to bring a 160 kilowatt electric motor and multi-link rear suspension. A hotter B05 Ultra has also been shown overseas with 180 kilowatts, rear-wheel drive, and a claimed 5.9 seconds 0 to 100 time. Leapmotor says a unique Australian tune would need enough sales volume to justify the cost. So this is not a guarantee, but it is a good sign the brand understands local expectations. Jetour is also coming to Australia and is aiming straight at our love of adventure SUVs and utes. The T1 and T2 SUVs are expected in early 2027, while the larger G700 off-road SUV and F700 ute are expected later in 2027. The G700 is a plug-in hybrid with a 2-litre turbo petrol engine, electric motors front and rear, and a huge claimed 665 kilowatts and 1135 newton meters of torque. It is almost 5.2 meters long, weighs more than 3 tons, and still claims 0 to 100 in 4.6 seconds. The F700 ute could be even more relevant locally. Jetour says it will sit above the BYD Shark 6 rather than compete purely on price, and it is reportedly targeting 3.5-ton towing. A diesel plug-in hybrid powertrain is also under development, which could be very interesting for Australian buyers who want electric driving around town but still need diesel-style touring and towing confidence. Mazda, meanwhile, has shut down rumours that it will rebadge the Deepal E07 as an electric ute. This is a follow-up to earlier speculation. Mazda Australia says there are no plans for it and that reports are wrong. The E07 is clever, blending SUV comfort with ute-style rear section. But it's not a true work ute. It starts from $65,000 before on roads, uses a large battery, and that affects payload. And it is better understood as a lifestyle multi-truck than a BT50 replacement. GWM has axed the Ora hatch in Australia and replaced it with the Ora 5 electric SUV. Pricing starts from $33,990 drive away for the Lux and $36,990 for the Ultra, matching the outgoing hatch pricing while moving into a larger body. The Ora 5 has a 150 kilowatt front motor, a 58.3 kilowatt hour LFP battery. It'll have up to 430 kilometers of a WLTC range, a 120 kilowatt DC charging, and up to 6 kilowatts vehicle to load. An Australian chassis tune is also being developed, which could be important in a crowded EV market. Omoda Jaecoo is expecting the J5 EV at $36,990 drive away until the end of financial year, or 30 June 2026. As we reported earlier, this model had already gained strong early orders. However, the fresh update is that the offer is being extended and reported orders are now above 4,000. The J5 EV has a 155 kilowatt motor, 288 newton meters, and a 58.9 kilowatt hour LFP battery. Up to 402 kilometers of WLTP range. It'll have vehicle to load, a 13.2-inch screen, wireless smartphone mirroring, and an 8-year unlimited kilometer vehicle and battery warranty. Suzuki has finally priced the Vitara for Australia. The motion starts at $46,990 drive away for the first 100 pre-orders, rising to $49,990 after the promotion. The Ultra starts at $56,990 drive away, rising to $58,990 after the promotion as well. The Motion is front-wheel drive with a 49 kWh LFP battery and 344 kilometers WLTP range. The Ultra gets a 61 kWh battery, all-grip all-wheel drive, and 395 kilometers of WLTP range. Charging from 10 to 80% takes a claimed 45 minutes, which is not class-leading even in the slightest. And ANCAP has rated it 4 stars. So Suzuki will need brand trust and compact practicality to do a lot of the selling. Polestar and Volvo have started rolling out Google Gemini to cars with Google built in, beginning in the United States. Gemini replaces old-style command-based voice control with more natural conversation, multi-step requests, and follow-up questions. It can help with navigation, messaging, trip planning, and translation. For us here in Australia, the timing is not locked in across the board, but it shows how important software is becoming in EV ownership. Volkswagen has shown the ID.Era 9X in China, a huge 3-row range extender SUV concept developed with SAIC. It uses a 1.5-litre turbo engine, 1 or 2 electric motors, a battery as large as 65.2 kilowatt hours, up to 400 kilometers of electric driving, claimed total range approaching 1,600 kilometers, and 800-volt charging from 10 to 80% in around 17 minutes. It is not confirmed for Australia, but it shows Volkswagen is watching the same EREV trend that Chinese brands are pushing hard into SUVs and utes. And finally, Hyundai Australia has already sold more EVs in 2026 than it did in all of 2025. Projected sales to the end of April are 2,144 vehicles, compared with 1,882 for the full previous year. Kona Electric and the new Elexio are leading the charge, with Inster also close to matching last year's result. Fuel prices are a big driver here. When petrol and diesel become painful, buyers who are already EV curious suddenly have a very practical reason to move. And that is the quick charge version of episode 47. For the full deep dive, including more specs, pricing, more local context, and some hard truths behind each story, check out the full episode of Plugged In Australia. As I've said on the full version there, the quick charge will come up as a bonus episode of the full episode. So that's the easiest way to see that there. And then obviously the description will have quick charge down in the front of it there. So I appreciate all of those of you that reached out, suggested the quick charge format. Hopefully that is something of interest to everybody. Always appreciate any feedback you might have. info@pluggedinaustralia.com.au. And as always, thank you very much for listening. And until the next time, stay plugged in and stay charged. Ci vediamo.